After communism fell apart in 1989, the post-1989 era can be characterized like this. There has been a general movement towards the West with a capital W. Most countries have now gained European Union and NATO membership, which is something they sought fairly quickly in an attempt to distance themselves from the Russians. And during the 1990s, there were reforms throughout the area. Here's four of them. The countries went from being communist to democratic. So instead of one-party dictatorships, multiple political parties could run and people could vote in real, free, and fair democratic elections. They went from having central planning of their economies to open markets. Central planning means the government decided how much every single thing was going to cost, where it was going to be sold, and how much of it was going to be produced. With open markets, of course, capitalism and supply and demand make those decisions. The countries went from complete government control of your life, what you were allowed to read, what you were allowed to watch, what you were allowed to think for that matter, to private citizens. You are making your own decisions now. That hasn't always been easy, I will tell you this. And they went from Soviet satellites to being members of the European Union, or at least driving towards European Union membership and Western concepts and values. Right now, I'm going to go through the countries that have been most and least successful at that transition. The countries that lean the West the most are Hungary, the Czech Republic, Slovenia, and the Baltic states. These countries quickly embraced democracy and ditched central planning and communism. As a result of that, there was rapid integration into the European Union and NATO. And these countries quickly tied their economies to the West. So there was a kind of tectonic shift where instead of their economies pointing east, their economies began to point towards the West. The countries had mixed results are Poland, Slovakia, Romania, Bulgaria, Croatia, North Macedonia, Montenegro, and Albania. And all of these, there's a broad spectrum amongst those countries, with Poland probably being the closest to the leaning West countries. Movement towards democracy, stable economies has been somewhat stymied by communist-era economic hangovers. All of these countries have unemployment problems also. I'm going to tell you something here that I've heard many times in Eastern Europe since the collapse of communism. It's this. It's description of the people who, for lack of a better term, hold back the movement towards the West. This is the way I've heard them described. Those people don't go anywhere. They don't care about reading about different points of view. They don't think their vote matters. They don't have an interest in other cultures or food. They just want their pensions and their health care. Because those people I'm talking about, the people who are described in that quotation, lost in the exchange. To them, when communism collapsed, they lost the things that mattered the most to them, which was their health care, their pensions, and guaranteed employment. Those things began to slip through their fingers once communism collapsed. And many of those people are actually quite bitter. And of course, because these are democratic systems, they vote for political parties that lean east rather than west. The countries that have the greatest struggles are Serbia, Bosnia, and Kosovo. There is, of course, the legacy of the civil war during the 1990s in the former Yugoslavia. But in addition to that, there's continued heavy Russian influence, especially in Serbia. And all three of those countries have unemployment problems. Again, can you think of anything you've purchased from them recently? Or any products they make at all that are sold globally?